Welcome to Roots and Branches of Lehi, the podcast where we get to know the faces, stories, and lives that make up our community. I'm Ryan Harding, and I started this podcast as a way for us all to connect with the people we live alongside. Growing up in a small town, I learned that connections go beyond blood. They're built through shared experiences, friendships, and the moments we celebrate together. Each week, we'll sit down with someone new from Lehi to share their unique story, their passions, and what they love most about living here. So whether you've been here for years or just arrived, join us as we deepen our roots and reach out to our branches one story at a time. Welcome, Heather Newall, to the podcast Roots and Branches of Lehi. Excited to have you here and get to know you a little bit better and get to know what you're doing here in the city and all that kind of stuff. So
sounds great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, so let's get to know you first then.
Okay.
So tell me, you from Lehi? Where are you from? Where'd you originally grow up and stuff?
So I was born in American Fork.
Okay, yeah, not too far down the road. Okay.
Eighth generation. My fifth great grandfather was the founder of American Fork, Civic Shipman. But my parents moved really early on to Orem, so I grew up in Orem.
Okay.
Did all my school days there. So
okay. And then, so what brought you to Lehi?
So when I got married, it was trying to find a place to live.
Sure.
Orem was expensive then, and Lehi was just starting to kind of build up, and we could find we had some friends who had moved out at Pilgrim's Landing, and so we found a house there, and we built 3 homes in Lehi, but that's the requirement for my husband is we have to stay in Lehi.
Sure.
He always loved Lehi. He's from Scotland.
Okay.
And so his grandmother married a Trinidad.
Okay.
And so his grandmother lived over here at one point, made some friends. So it was, for him, he always saw Lehi as a place that's the goal where he wants to be. He always, imagined that. So he always wanted to be in Lehi.
Okay. Yeah. And so what brought Scotland and American Fork, Orem together?
Yeah.
How'd you guys meet?
So I was at BYU.
Okay.
And this was back in the late 90s. And there was a Y chat room, and he was in Glasgow, and so he would get on at night while he was writing papers. He was LDS, and we would chat then, and that's how we ended up connecting. Back when you would never tell anybody
that
about the things. There was no dating sites or anything like that. It was just this BYU chat room, and so that's how we ended up. And then after he graduated, he came over to stay with friends of his grandmother's, and that's when we actually met.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome. Well, so that's and now, living in Lehi many years later, that's good. Do you ever go back to Scotland, I guess? Does he still have family there and stuff?
Yeah, he does. We tried, he took our oldest son for a senior trip back there. Yeah. It's hard to, take the amount of, get everybody over and they get housing in cars. We would bring his parents over a couple of months at a time. Yeah. So I've been back. Yeah. I'd love to take the family there, especially do, a real tour of Scotland and not just we're going to go walk up and down the high street and see friends and family. Let's go see your heritage. So
well, that's a lot of my ancestors are from England, and so I haven't, but I haven't been there, and I'd love to go. I mean, it's obviously
it's beautiful. We keep on talking about we need to have a house over there. We need to go spend time there.
Yes, that would be nice. Yeah. Well, okay. Well, so tell me about. So you're right now in the city council. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so is that something you always wanted to do, or tell me about that?
No. I'm somebody who is always I don't put me in front of the spotlight doing any of this kind of stuff. Yeah. But it's kind of funny. You look back at things that I've done, and somehow I've found myself there. But no, there was I think oftentimes with a lot of people, there's a single issue. Something comes up in your backyard, and so I ended up getting involved and going to meetings and talking about this issue. Sure. And learning a lot and things that I presented. I started studying code. Yeah. And things were changed because of things that I brought up. Okay. And so that was kind of a thrill. Yeah. And there was things that I caught with the development that was done wrong, that weren't done as they said they were going to do according to what they promises they made during city council. Sure. And I caught that, and it delayed their development for over a year. So it's wow, I'm making a difference. Wow. Yeah. But there was things that happened with that development where I saw, hey, if I knew then what I know now, I think I could have made a better impact. Sure. I could have done things better. I could have seen things different. So I saw that as hey, I can help people. I can help people that are facing these same kind of things. And so the thing that was really cool is, because of that, I started develop genuine relationships with people who are on city council. Yeah. And so when a planning commission spot came up, they said, hey, we really want you on that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, but I need to interview with the mayor. Yeah. And I really haven't had a lot of interaction with the mayor other than standing up in city council and disagreeing with him, so
sure.
I don't know how he's going to.
That may not be the interview I want, right?
Yeah, he may not go for that. And so I sat down with him, and he was just incredible, and we made this great connection, and I'm just wow, I want to be a part of this because it's like, there's things that we can disagree on, and I've learned so much in the process of things where like I was wrong on it and become better. So they put me on planning commission. A year and a half later, they made me chair. Okay. So like probably the fastest anybody's ever become chair.
Yeah,
also being a woman. I was the only woman on the planning commission until Emily Lockhart joined right after me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really cool experience. And then just kind of got thinking a lot of what's coming through on planning commission, I want to solve the problem.
Yeah.
And you don't do it on planning commission. You look at what the applicant brings in. Does it fit the code?
Yeah.
And if it, yes, then it moves forward. And, but you're not there to really say, hey, you could do this better, or I can work with you.
Sure.
You can't even talk to the applicant before meetings.
Okay.
So
it's really, you're really just
you're really there just to look at it and does it work? So it really felt like, okay, if I'm going to help make things better and make change, then city council's where I need to be.
And speak to that for a minute as far as like, because a lot of people sometimes will get, mad. Oh, I can't believe Lehi's letting, XYZ build something, right? But like your hands are kind of tied on a lot of things, right? I mean, there's property rights and different things. I mean, speak to that, I guess, for a second, just to kind of shed some light on.
Yeah, when I joined Planning Commission, one of the things that was happening at the time was a general plan, that we're adopting a new general plan. And to me, and that's what I ran on, follow the general plan. Yeah. Because that's what really kind of took me off guard and got me involved, is because the development that went on next to me was not following the general plan. Okay. And there was exceptions made. So I think that's really hard as residents. They kind of have an expectation of what's going to be there. Yeah. But I think the hard thing for residents is when an applicant comes in and they're presenting a zone that fits the general plan, the public thinks like we have a choice to say like, oh, you're allowing high density here. It's like, well, that's what the general plan allows. Yeah. So their property rights have already been entitled. Yeah. So that's a really difficult thing, I think, for the public. And as much as we try and educate to be able to help them understand, you're one piece of this, and your part in this public hearings is to help us to mitigate things that are, and make sure we have protections in place. Sure. But when it comes to the rights of the property owner, once we put that on the general plan, and decisions have been made long before I was ever on council, like they're entitled to that. So. Yeah. And I'm guessing to change the general plan is difficult to do a lot of times, right? I mean, and it's like we can't go and so like if we wanted to change the general plan, we can't take somebody's property and say, oh, you actually can have like 5 homes per acre, but we think that's too much, so we're going to make it so you only have 2. Oh, no, we've just taken their right, and we've violated their 5th and 14th Amendment rights. Sure. Sure. We're not paying them for it. Sure, because the value would obviously go way down, right? In that scenario. Yeah. So if we feel like it's overbuilt, either we need to go buy the land or we need to buy their density back from them. And the council's had to do that in the past, where they have allocated too much density. Okay. So it's big decisions when you start when you start to entitle things. Sure. That you can't take back.
And I assume that happens on the reverse too, where somebody's like, hey, this was residential, but I'd like, Pioneer Crossing is now here, can I make it a commercial, or something like that, right? Sometimes that happens. Yep. And I'm guessing the reverse is, hey, can't do that, or, or maybe it's probably pretty difficult to do, I guess, kind of thing.
Sometimes you look at that too. It's like, hey, I've got this residential piece, but it's completely surrounded by commercial. It's an island. It doesn't make sense. And you can look at that and say, yeah, it doesn't make sense. Okay. You've got this big road that's built next to you. So that's the thing, is like the city council is a land use authority. Okay. Like we have the ability to change those things. Okay. But if we're trying to take away, that's when we get in trouble.
Okay. So you can add to it.
Yeah, you can add to it.
Okay. Yeah. But if you take away, you got to compensate, I guess, or do something, because otherwise that person just lost. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Like somebody has a heavy commercial and we're like, we don't think you should have that. We're going to make it commercial. We've just taken away rights that they had before.
Sure. Yeah. Which you can't do, right? Even if we're like, hey, well, there's too much traffic. We don't want too much high density. I mean, that's a big thing right now, right? And so it's the traffic.
Yeah, that's the thing that's like cracking me up. It's like, why do you keep on adding high density? And it's like, you go back and look at since the general plan, there's been 0 places where we have allowed high density that was not already allocated on the plan.
So this is just as more people are being like, hey, this was already there. Like we were already planning to do this. Yeah. It's just maybe it's happening quicker than people want, because it's growing so fast. Lehi is. Yeah. Okay. Well.
Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, that is tough. Well, and I want to go back to, because there's a lot of contention sometimes in politics, right? Yeah. And I like what you said about, hey, I had an interview with the mayor, and all my only interactions was disagreeing with him, right? Yeah. But so talk to me about that side of politics. the positive side of, hey, I'm on this side, you're on this side, but like, let's come together and figure this out, right? We're not enemies. We're not, this isn't good and bad, angels and devils, kind of thing, right? And so,
and that's the stuff I love.
Okay.
I would rather be in a room with somebody who has a different idea and work through it and see where we can get to a better spot. I was heavily involved with the stuff at the school district and the split.
Okay. Yeah.
And doing, I was really the one who was doing all the research behind that and trying to figure out where Lehi was going to go. Yeah. Because, at the beginning of this, we were headed in a different direction. That's where council was. Okay. And it was me just doing the research and digging in and being like, hey, guys, this is not going to be good. Yeah. It's not going to be good for us. It's not going to be good for them. We can't just look at right now. We got to look at what this is going to look like in 30 years. Sure. And so to be able to do that and to be able to have those conversations and start talking with people, and even, where we're looking to go west. Yeah. Right. And to be also at the point where Saratoga and Eagle Mountain saw, I could talk to them and say, hey, this isn't going to be good for you either. Yeah. And this is why. And for them to be, really disappointed because they wanted us with them, but to say no, you're right. Yeah. No, we see it. We see what's going to happen. Let's do this once and get it right. Good. So good. I love that kind of stuff. That's the best part of this.
Well, and that's kind of why I want to talk about that. Yeah. Just because unfortunately, what makes the news or what makes the, things are the contentious parts, right? And there's reasons why, I guess, right? But I like that behind the scenes, hey, there's a lot of people coming together, right? Yeah. Doing things and
there's definitely people who are mad, and there's you got all that stuff going on too. But it's I think when you have a lot of people going in with really good intentions, trying to get it right for everybody, and that was pretty incredible to be a part of. Yeah. And those times are probably pretty rare that come around. Sure.
Well, and so how long have you been on City Council for? Or Planning Commission, right?
Planning Commission, I was 2.5 years. I've been on City Council for a year and a half.
Okay. So tell me the difference, just for anybody that doesn't know, Planning Commission versus City Council then. Just generally, So
Planning Commission is appointed. You're appointed by the mayor and, voted on by the city council to be in that position. Okay. You do not meet with the applicant. You don't talk about items before they come forward. Yeah. And so everything's just done in that meeting. Okay. City council is elected. Mm-hmm. So you campaign, run, you get voted on to be in that position. Yeah. And then you are able to meet with the developer, with staff, you can talk one-on-one with other city council members. I can talk to the mayor. You just can't ever have a voting body together. Okay. So I can't talk with two other city council members and say, hey, this is our vote, Yeah,
let's team up here together. Okay, sure.
Yeah, and I kind of thought coming to the city council and being new, I'm they probably all talk and everybody knows how they're going to vote going in. You don't. Okay. You talk through things sometimes, tough things, but I think you get to the point where you kind of understand where people might be, but there's a lot of times you're in a meeting and new information's presented and you're oh, I didn't even see it that way.
That's new.
So
Sure.
Yep.
Okay. So those and to your point, actually, that's what you said originally with what got you into it is, hey, I affected change here. And this was before you were any kind of position of power, right? You're just a resident at that time. Yeah. And so I guess to your point, those meetings do matter, I guess, right?
And the Planning Commission, they're the recommending body. Sure. They're giving us a recommendation. Staff gives us kind of recommendations to their DRC. So we're getting all this, and we got the public hearing too. So you're getting feedback from lots of different sources. Yeah. And City Council you're the final decision.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Well, and so you've been, a short time there and stuff like that. Anything that kind of, stands out in your time that you're hey, I was a part of that or did that,
Yeah. It's hard to have anything trump the school district stuff. Sure. And especially being thrown into, I knew campaigning that this was going to be the big issue. Sure. I just had no idea that I was going to be involved at the level that I was. Yeah. And so I was sworn in the next day. Mm-hmm. I was at Cedar Valley High School meeting the principal and meeting Julie King for the first time. I was just thrown in, and I was at North Point in the afternoon. Sure. And walking with the principal and seeing stuff going on and just having my eyes kind of open to everything. But then when things moved with the interlocal agreements, they moved really fast. Okay. And we had it all set up. And so I'm making connections with city council members, but I'm so new to this. Yeah. I'm a couple of months in. Yeah. And so I don't really know who's friend, who's foe, what do you really, Sure. So you're trying to build trust and that going on. And because I had kind of been a little bit more outspoken and informative on things, The other cities had decided that I was going to be the spokesperson for. So like here, I'm doing like all the interviews, and they're asking like, how long have you been on city council? I'm like, 5 months. Yeah. They're like, and they sent you to, to like come and do this, but and I think it's kind of have Heather go do it. We don't want to do it. We'll just like the newbie, send them out to do it. But at one point it was suggested like you should write the 4 statement. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I can do that. I had no idea what I was getting into because I can't use staff. I can't use anybody else. Everybody wants to know what this statement's going to be. So I'm like basically writing it in the dark. Yeah. And so it was a lot to like take on and try and, figure out what's going to be the most important things and just doing. I probably never spent so much time writing 750 words and like, what's the most important things that people need to know about this? So,
What? Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds rewarding to you. I mean, it sounds like you genuinely do enjoy this kind of stuff.
I do. When you do things and you're realizing you're making positive change, you're changing people's lives. Yeah. Like, I love that. Yeah. Like, you don't need, that's my payment. Yeah. Like, I want to get involved in those kind of things where I feel like these places where I can make a difference. Sure. But if they don't have somebody like that, it's never going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. No. Well, no, I love that, actually. I love that. Tell me about something, that most people maybe don't realize about city government. Is there some kind of surprises that, because your background is not necessarily in public administration or anything like that, right? No, I have a technology background. Okay. Yeah. So I've been doing like web and development and that since like the 90s. Okay. So very different than what you're doing. Yeah. Yep. So tell me, anything surprise you getting in where like, I didn't realize X, Y, Z? Yeah, it's hard because I was on planning commission before, but I think the thing that is so cool about Lehi is the staff. Okay. I mean, like, you start working and involving yourself with the staff, and you're like, oh man, this is where I want to be, where I want to work. And it makes sense why Lehi has such an amazing culture, like from police and fire and just how everybody is. Yeah. And having that feeling of like, they're looking out for you. They really do genuinely care. They're, there to try and help you. They really care about Lehi. Yeah. So yeah, that was something that I just didn't realize that how cool it'd be to be part of that. Yeah, yeah. Love that. I love that. So on that part of, I guess, city council, tell me how you balance that, long-term planning, because I'm assuming there is still some long-term planning happening, but, we also have immediate needs and sometimes conflict, I guess, with each other, right? So, tell me how you balance those, I guess. I think Lehi's done some pretty incredible things when it comes to making sure the economy that we have is going to be stable. Yeah. Like, if this is a place people want to be, their families want to stay, their kids want to stay here. Yeah. I know that means attainable housing is really difficult to be able to make sure that, our community stays here. Yeah. But looking at that, where we're getting to the point where there's not really big pieces of land. Yeah. So there's some, but you're also trying to figure out, okay, or we have enough commercial, we have enough retail, we have the things that we need. Because as you look around Lehi, we don't have a lot of those things. Sure. American Fork does. A lot of us shop in American Fork, or we go up to Saratoga Springs. Yeah. And so as we're thinking about build out, if we don't have those kind of pieces, then the cost to maintain infrastructure and other, services, that comes back on the residents. Sure. So if we can make sure that we have that great balance, then we can make sure that we continue to be a place where Lehi's not a high tax place to live. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I guess, talk to me about traffic's obviously a big one. Yeah. How's that coming along? I know there's a lot going, I know when I interviewed the mayor, this is, 6 months ago or something, he's like, all roads go through Lehi. And so there's, literally, right? And so there's all these things that they're doing. But any updates on what we're doing there, I guess, to try to fix some of these issues? No, so 2100 North Freeway is huge. And the fact that we got that moved up as a priority, I think that's going to help alleviate a lot. Getting the flex lanes on Pioneer. Those are going to be big things, but it's not going to be enough. Yeah. Because, out west, it's going to be like 500,000 people. Yeah. 500,000 people that somehow have to come through us. Yeah. And so it's hard to keep up with. We don't plan what they're doing. And, we have, I think, especially with the school district communications, we've built a lot better relationships and keeping those. And that's now evolved into these meetings we're having every 3 months and talking about transit and transportation. Yeah. So that's a huge part of it is coordinating and making sure that we get on the same page. And one thing that we've got recently from UDOT is them agreeing that we need to have a freeway-to-freeway connector from I-15 over to Mountain View Corridor. Yes. And then the other piece of that is we have to have a freeway below us too. We essentially need a belt around the west side of Lehi. Yeah. And we're getting UDOT on board with that. So just to get that piece on the plan, they agree and to have that north section. Yeah. The other big piece is we've got $4 million in federal funding coming to study the North Shore Freeway.
Okay.
And the big part of that is we need to know if we can even build on the lake.
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, I want a road across the center.
Yeah.
You know, if the Provo airport's going to be the next big airport hub, they've got to get 500,000 people from that west side that want to use it.
Correct.
So we got to get people over that direction too. I don't know where it's going to land. I just know we need it.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of talk. Lehi's invested a lot of money in solving these problems that really aren't necessarily ours, but they are because people have to go through us.
Yeah.
So there's a lot,
yeah.
and it moves slower than we want it to move always.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to see UDOT listening, taking the data that Lehi has done and studied, and agreeing with it.
Yeah.
So,
what I like what you're saying is it sounds like Lehi is actually being very proactive with this stuff, right? I mean, because ultimately, you guys live here,
right.
So you drive in the same traffic that I drive in, right? And so you're like, hey, I don't want this. Like, let's improve this, right? And so I like that you're proactive about this because obviously, those are some of the issues that affect us directly, right? Because every day we all wake up.
It may not be our problem, but we have to solve it.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. No. Agreed. Okay. So talk to me about the Lehi Historical Marker Program.
Yeah.
So actually, just start with that. Tell me what that is, actually.
So before I even ran for city council, Laura, our Historical Society, Laura Bangerter, had put on Facebook, they were doing their Christmas sale. And they were put up a Google form of being able to go and buy products. Yeah. And so I've been doing web design development for 25 years now. Yeah. So I message her, I'm like, hey, can I help with this?
Yeah.
Can we get a shopping cart and stuff on your website? And so I went down and met with her, and she's just incredible and amazing. Yep. And she's like, I would love that. We're, in the process of redesigning a website. Yeah. I'm like, okay, and she's like, and we wanted a shopping piece, but it was going to be so expensive. We can't afford to do it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
But I said, let me know when it's ready to go. And so, but that kind of got pushed off as they were doing the redesign. But in the same time, Nicole Coonsey had been talking to Laura with this whole historical marker and saying, we really should do enamel pins and letting her know that these are really popular. They're popular with the Olympics and with Disneyland, and people love to collect these things. Yeah. And Laura's like, I just don't know that we can invest in that.
Sure.
And it was Rob Strong came in and one day and showed his collection from the 2002 Olympics. And it just clicked with Laura, and she's like, okay, I see it. Yeah. And so, and they were talking, she's like, well, now what do we do? Yeah. And Nicole's like, we call Heather. And so she's like, she came to me, she's like, Heather, would you want to be involved with this? I'm like, I've never done anything like that before. Yeah. But yes, I'm in. Let's do it. And she wanted to do the broadbent sign. Okay. I'm like, okay, so let's do it. And so I took the broadbent sign, designed it, and then gave it to Nicole, and she went and did just an online getting the pins done. Yeah. And so we did that, and then we did one for the Jordan River. She came back and said, hey, can we do that? I didn't get it to her in enough time, so they ended up doing, one, but it was kind of rush job. Sure. But being at that Jordan River event and seeing everybody so excited, and they were buying the broadbent pen in the Jordan River, I'm like, okay, we're onto something here. Yeah. But that Jordan River pen cost them $6.95 to make, and they sold it for $7. So I'm like, okay, we need to really figure this out.
Yeah,
so
a 5 cents market.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, that's kind of I mean, they're not, they're just not into that realm. And so I'm like, okay, this is an area I can help you with too, with marketing and being able to produce. And so we, and the other thing that hit us is the tariffs. Sure. And so I'm like, we're just not going to be able to do this because we're going to be out of the price point where people are going to be okay with buying them. And so I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And so I just told Nikhil, okay, I'm gonna take over the manufacturing side too. Yeah. And I started researching direct manufacturers in China. Okay. And so I connected. I've used 4 different manufacturers now, but that's a pretty incredible process because I'm working directly with them. I see the pins all the way through the process, and then. Yeah, I've been able to get the costs down and the quality up and get these really incredible high-quality pins that people are just loving. So, yeah. That's what I was going to ask is, tell me the community response to this. Has it been good? It's been huge. I get emails from Lauren. She's like, oh my gosh, we saw it, they've already doubled or tripled the amount that they, in just a week from what they would normally sell in a year of things. So, yeah, people have been loving it. And
so they're around town too, right? I mean, so they're coming, like, I forget how many Laura told me, and I don't know if you remember, but like they're doing so many per year or something like that, right? Unveiling so many.
Yeah, I think they have approved for like 32 different markers, and then trying to do one about once a month.
Yeah. No, and so, and these are just around town of different historical things, right? That people can go and look at and you know, and learn about and stuff like that. I think it would make a great youth, you know, scavenger hunt, activity idea or something like that.
Because there's going to eventually have QR codes on it.
Yes.
So you can go to all the different places. I just think, like, you know, a portion of this is funded by the park tax. They've also gone out and got other grants from like HADCO. Yeah. To me, this is kind of like the epitome of what a park tax grant should look like. Sure. They're having community events every month. They're free. We're getting the community together. Yeah. And like, you're feeling this swell of, you know, pride in Lehi and our history, and people are learning things they didn't know about before. Yeah. So what they're doing is just so incredible. And I'm like, I want to be a part of that. How can I help? What can we do? Yeah.
Love that. Love that. And do you know how they decided on which locations and stories to feature? Do you know?
They had a couple of events where people could come and submit. Okay. And where they thought the location should be. And then they have a committee. They have their board. So I think there's a lot of conversations just based on all that. And then they decide. Yeah. And
they're not adding to it at this point then, right? Because that's been decided, though, the 32, I guess, or whatever?
I think so. And I don't think those are all finalized either. Oh, okay. I think that's kind of more of this is what we've had set for grants and funding. Okay. But I think that I could see it totally expanding to more. Yeah, especially as our history grows more, then they're going to have to do more markers. Yeah. Walk
me through the creative process when designing the pin and stuff like that. So you did that yourself too, or are you still doing all of them then, or just? Yeah. Okay. Yep. You are still. Okay.
Yep. So I do that. I also do the backing cards too, because it's like, okay, we got to keep on elevating this. So now they all have backing cards with information on the back. But yes, I'll spend time down at the Historical Society. So like, I'll take you like the Saratoga Resort. Sure. So I went through everything they have on the Saratoga Resort down there. Started looking at pictures. Like, one thing I wanted to feature was the Ferris wheel. Sure. And I've told people there wasn't a Ferris wheel there. I'm like, yes, there was. There was two. And so like I'm learning so much about it as I go through. So I did that. I also did a post. Okay. Because there was an image of it was called the Women of Saratoga. Okay. That was like, and I colorized it and put it up. Yeah. And to get feedback, I'm like, hey, what do you remember? Yeah. And so looking at that post, and because I asked about the giant slide, the giant male slide, and when I got back from that post, everybody was talking about the kamikaze slide. And the how cool the slide was, because it was the piece that was moved from Saratoga to the outdoor pool. Yeah. So people remember because it was there, longer. And I'm like, okay, I see this all coming together now. There's certain things that I'm really hearing people connect with, and things that I'm personally connecting with too. Yeah. So I knew that I wanted the women to be part of it. Okay. That was a big thing for me, because people brought up ladies' night. Sure. This image as well. The pools were such a huge part. Yeah. I knew I wanted to feature both slides. Yeah. And because I kind of always want these pins to go next level, I wanted the Ferris wheel, and I wanted the Ferris wheel to spin. Okay. So like a 2-piece pin, and just like, I want this to be a really standout piece. Yeah. Another part of that is like, this is Mayor's, Mayor Johnson. Like, he works in John Beck's old home, so he felt very closely tied to this. Yeah. So I talked to him. What do you remember as a kid? What do you, what if things, and he would talk about, getting all the shards from the kamikaze slide and things, and he was laughing. So as I went through the design process, I would send stuff to him and say, what do you think? And he's like, I love that. And there's like one point he's like, well, it looks like your Ferris wheel is dumping people out onto the slide. So I think that's, I'm like, okay, I'll fix that. So he was like always, making comments. But then my parents grew up in American Fork, so they went out to Saratoga a lot. I remember going there as a little kid. Yeah. And so they would talk about different things. So it's trying to capture everybody's memories that they're talking about, and what's going to like really fit with people. So like going through that whole process, that's the real fun part of it. Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, I can tell you enjoy that, and you're probably the perfect person for that job, because you're doing a very good job with, really bringing in the history of it, I guess, right? Bringing in memories, like you said. I like that a lot. That's actually really cool. You're not just painting a picture, but you're painting a picture with feeling, I guess.
Right, like I could just do the Saratoga Resort sign and make that a pin.
Yeah, exactly. Good. Yeah. And frankly, that's probably what I would do. It would be super simple.
Yeah,
but
here's Saratoga Resort. There you go. So it's like, if we're trying to have the pin capture history, it's got to have something more. Like with George Groats, I'm so touched by that story. And, I remember Nicole was talking, she's like, I guess we could do a sugar beet, and I'm just like, no, it's that moment when Joffrey Rolfe, he comes down the corner and he says, that's all of them, Uncle George.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to capture that moment and what people feel when they hear those words.
Yeah.
And so,
I could, again, great. Well, and so, okay, so talk to me, any stories. So now, how many have you done so far?
Oh, should have counted it up. It might be like 10 or 11, because I've kind of gotten ahead on some of the easier ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's about 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put you on the spot then. Tell me one that kind of stands out to you, or I mean, you've already shared a couple, I guess, but so just tell me one that like you're like, oh, I really liked that story, or maybe share one of the stories, I guess, about.
Well, Mary Wanless, because I actually spoke at the unveiling for hers, and so I just feel like I became very personally close to her. 14-year-old girl asked to do the impossible, and so you look at what she did and taking her family and her, these young siblings across the plains with her disabled father in a cart, and you think like, wow, I think I have hard things in my life, and she just did it. Yeah. She, and I'm just like, so there's a lot of times where I will think of her. I'll wear her pin, and I've heard of other people who wear her pin when they go serve at the temple. Yeah. And so that one, I think, will always live inside me. And if I hadn't done this, if I hadn't been a part of this, I wouldn't have known her story. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Well, and I didn't know her story either. So actually, so she was a 14-year-old girl when she came across the plains to Utah here and settled in Lehi, or give me a little more details for those of us that don't know that story.
So, her stepmother had made her promise that she would make sure that her father took the children across the plains. Okay. She made that promise, and her stepmother ended up passing away. Okay. And so as they were going to leave, and her dad had a stroke, and as they went to join the wagon plane, he had another stroke, and he was completely disabled, and they left without him. Okay. And so she just decided, I'm going to go anyways. Yeah. So she's 14. I think she had 4 younger siblings. Yeah. And they had a lot of, friendly Native Americans who helped them, and all these things. It's just like a miracle they made it across. And then they got to Lehi in the fall, ended up spending the winter in a dugout here close off of Main Street. Wow. Her father ended up passing away the next year. Yeah. And she ended up marrying John Hutchings, who is the founder of the museum and everything. Yeah. So it's like there's a lot of Wanlesses and Hutchings that are all coming from that family that came across plains. So.
Wow, that is a cool story. I like, and so what, designing her pin, how was that process,
That was really cool, because, I wanted a distinctly a pioneer girl, but there's a mountains and a sunburst. Yeah. Actually, I think I brought a couple, and that was the one that I brought, so you can see that one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so you can see on the back where it's got, like, her story, and, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Wow. So, yeah, and so these are selling for, so if people want to buy are they still available?
Yeah.
I mean, how do people, tell us how people can buy these.
So you can go on the website, lehihistory.org, and there's a gift shop button, so you can buy them there. You can also go into the Historical Society. It's just right across the street off of Main Street. Yeah. And they're there Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, noon to 5. Okay. And if you wanted to buy it on the website and have it delivered, they'll do local delivery for $5. They can ship out of state. Sure. You can order on the website and then go pick it up when you want to. So.
Love it. Yeah. And so obviously you said 10 already. So if people want to go back and buy the first one, they can still collect these pins then, right? This isn't like, oh man, you missed that. You know.
So like this one, they're sold out of the Mary Wanless, but they have been so popular, and she has such, a story that resonates with people. Yeah. So I actually did a new order of that one. Okay. So I think we may order some, and some may just be the Jordan River, because of how it was done and rushed. I'm like, I need to redo that one. Yeah. Okay. So the original Jordan River ones, we'll never make any more of those. Okay. So, okay. Yeah. So you got to do it right? Yeah. Make it good. The Lehi Roller Mills one, I've already done a second order. That one's just like flying off, and the rodeo pin, like we sold a ton of those during Roundup. So,
oh sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I love that. Okay, this is cool. And so I was going to ask if you've collaborated with local artists or historians, but it sounds like, well, actually, you did kind of answer that with you. You've really dived into the history and stuff like that. Yeah. But a lot of the artist stuff is you then, though, too, right? Yep. So that's awesome. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So and it's Nicole and Laura and I. Yeah. It's kind of nice that we just kind of have this small committee, because the moment we expand beyond that, I think it would get Like we get a lot of opinions coming in. So I'll show them the design and like get sign off, but I'll show different people who might be close to it too. So like with the Roundup one, I know I wanted to use their logo. I wanted that Bronco and Cowboy. So I talked to Mike Southwick, and he presented it to the committee to get approval. So like there's been involvement like that. If I'm going to use something that's somebody else's intellectual property. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much just you. Okay, that's cool. Well, again, good job. No, these. I mean, I love the pins, and I love the what would you? I guess the signs, that are on the spot because they also have like. So don't they have a historical marker for her spot then too? Yes, they do. And where's hers at then? Hers is off of Main Street, just like a section down.
Okay. And why'd they pick that spot then?
Because that's where it's assumed the dugout was.
Okay. Okay, perfect.
Yep. Okay. So all throughout town you'll see, because there is about 10 markers right now that are out there that were the events that they've held, and you can go, and they each have a plaque telling this short story about why it's there.
And you said QR codes are coming then? What's the process on that, or the timeline on that?
So they got a park grant to be able to get the QR codes. So they'll be attached to the pole, and you can scan it, and it will take you to the website landing page so you can have more information.
And learn more about whatever. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Any design challenges, I guess, or any challenges from this? I mean, just the whole thing in general, or has it been pretty smooth sailing?
Well, there's definitely huge challenges with it, because you're taking something, you're having to make it so you're telling them where the metal is, you're telling them where the paint goes, how to finish it, and because of my work, there's a guy in my work that like. Oh, like, hey, I need your help with this. Sure. Like, can you do this, part of the design and things? But like, he has no idea with Lehi.
Sure.
So like, I'll definitely like enlist other people who are like better to be able to help me with some of the stuff. But, I'll send stuff to the manufacturer, and they'll kick it back and like, we can't do lines that close together. You got to totally fix this. So it's like, so there is like, it's not just like doing a normal picture. You got to make sure that there's a certain, there has to be enough area to put the paint in. Because it's a pretty intense process.
Sure.
And it's a good thing with going directly to the manufacturers, because I'm using a lot of colors. I might use like 12, 16 colors. Yeah. And that's adding cost. So some of these other like online, like middleman, like every time you add a color, you're adding like, 50 cents to the cost of the image. But, and the reason for that is they'll put a color on, and then they'll have to bake it for 2 hours, and then bring it back out, and then do another color and bake it for 2 hours.
So it does really add to the time.
Yeah, it does add to the time.
Okay.
So it's a pretty intense process.
I didn't realize there was all that goes into making a pin.
Yep. So they have to do the molding of it, pour the mold, and then they start doing the painting one color at a time and baking it. And then once it's all done, they got to polish it.
Sure.
And so it's
interesting. Okay. Well, hey, good job.
Yeah, thanks.
Good job. Well, so. Tell me, doing all that, I guess, has that given you a more appreciation for the heritage here in Lehi, and what effect has that had on you, I guess, just doing this 100%. In general? Yeah.
To be, we've lived here 23 years, but we're new Lehi, this is, and so like, I feel like we're adopted in to the family, and this is now becoming our heritage. The thing that I love the most is my kids are so excited about these events.
Oh, good.
They want to be there. My oldest was like, he's like, I need to join the Horse Historical Society. How do I join? So I'm like, you need to go talk to her over there. And so he did. And he's like, I want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
And
good.
So that's what's really cool is like, it's becoming a part of us. They know the stories. They're learning, the history of this. And so I think it builds that community, even though a lot of our community is new.
Sure.
Like, and that's what, like, we've gone to Roundup every year since we've been here, because we had that connection with people who John stayed with. And like, I've always just felt like no matter how big Lehi's gotten, we always feel like we're with family when we're there. And so like, I don't ever want to lose that. And I think these historical markers are something that's going to keep people tied to each other, that we need to understand our past to be able to keep us tied to that.
Which, I think that's one thing Lehi does very well with is that community part, right? Yeah. I mean, I think, and this is part of what's doing that, right? Yeah. I mean, this, hey, this is part of our heritage, right? Even adopted, right? I mean, I didn't grow up here either, right? And so, I've had 2 daughters graduate from high school here now. So, I mean, I've been here for, I think as long as you have.
My kids have only known Lehi.
Yes, exactly. That's really all they've known too. Any plans to expand the program?
So I think there's things where they're so excited now about the kind of the merchandise, and the people are excited. And then we're getting people that are wearing things and wanting to show, like, that they're part of this.
Sure.
And so, like, one thing, like the 1983 flood is coming up in, I think it's September or October. That's when we're going to be doing that one. And one of the cool things with that is there was this hat that with a duck on it that said, I survived the Lehi 1983 flood. And so I saw that hat, and Laura was like, yeah, people ask me for that hat all the time. Like, do we still have it? I'm like, oh, let's make it. And so I'm like, so we have the hat that's now been recreated, so people can get that hat, and then there's a pin that matches with it too. So I think that there's going to be things where, like, hey, let's expand and let people wear their Lehi history.
I like that. So yes, you are expanding then, I guess, doing more things, and, I love that. Okay, good. Well, again, I think it just helps with the community part, right? I mean, helping us all be part of where we're at and stuff.
Yeah.
Love that. So you talked about your kid and getting involved. What advice do you have for people that are, young people especially, but just anybody, I guess, that's looking to, hey, I want to be a part of this community. How do I get involved? What do I do?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for those people that are just looking? And I guess you can speak to, hey, going to a city council meeting / all the way down to, Lehi Historical Society and stuff like that. But
yeah, I think there's always ways to get involved, and like things where you can see a need and just push yourself a little bit further. Like in schools too, not just with, there's always needs and things with the different programs where they need people to just show up.
Yeah.
But I think, like you can show up to these events and be like, okay, when's the next board meeting? I want to come to this. Because like, that's a big part of it. If our historical society, there's a huge age gap between joining, like we're going to lose the stories. We got to have the younger people showing up to these things to be able to pass on the stories.
Yeah.
So, but I love being involved in that.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. Like if there's more places that I can go and volunteer, like let me be a part of it.
Sure.
Like I'm really heavily involved with Skyridge Theater.
Okay.
And that was just because my kid was in theater.
Sure.
And then I'm there and I'm like, oh, we could do this better.
Yeah.
If you start marketing this way and you do this and that, we can do some pretty big things. And it's now like, I don't think there's anybody in the state that does more ticket sales and brings in more than Skyridge Theater.
Wow.
And it's like, because it's like, okay, we have to go advertise, we have to do this. And so when you're at an event and you start seeing people come from Salt Lake and all around, and they're coming and they've never been to Skyridge, but they like, we love what you're doing.
Yeah.
That's the reward.
Yeah.
Like you're making a difference for these kids who have put so much time and energy into what they love. And you're like, okay, let's now get the support and show you that, this matters and it's important what you're doing.
Well, and what I hear you saying right there is there wasn't necessarily a sign-up sheet that said, hey, help with Lehi Theater or, Skyridge Theater.
Yeah.
This was you just saying, hey, I see there's a need here. Let me help, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what I hear you did.
Because a lot of times, I think a lot of people have great skills.
Sure.
That when you talk about these nonprofit organizations, they can't hire you.
Yeah.
They can't, but they need it. And so, you can go use those skills and make some good money, and then everybody does. But when you have that extra time you're going to donate, take those skills and help some of these organizations that could never afford to be able to hire you.
Sure. So. Love that. Yeah. And then again, you're able to make a difference and you're able to see that, right? Yeah. So looking towards the future and stuff like that, where do you see Lehi going in the next 10, 15, 20 years here? I mean, you're on city council, right? So you have this master plan, right?
Right, exactly. Oh no, always, right? I think it's kind of crazy to think that with the speed that Lehi is building, that we're like looking towards build out.
Yeah.
There's, like I was saying, there's just kind of remnants areas. It's not like there's big areas of land that need to be master planned, but the amount of growth that's happening in Utah and knowing that we're right in the heart of it, I think there's always going to be that kind of constant of how can we make sure that people are moving through us, that we're not bottlenecked here. Transit's going to be a part of that too.
Yeah.
Like I have kids who are at the U and they love Front Runner. They love to be able to go jump on and just be able to get up to the U and not have to deal with the car up there. So it's kind of changing mindset of my generation and things of thinking like we would never use any of that before. Younger generations are kind of thinking like this is the way forward. So
sure.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we're doing now is making sure that we're planning to be able to move people through and keeping that quality of life really high. Yeah. And also making sure that we're not losing our kids, that we're keeping our community here. Sure. That's something that's really tough. Yeah. Because, I believe in people being able to do what they want with their land, and and following zoning and making sure that we keep our community. But if that means that our kids can't live here, and only 25% of those who move out of state will ever come back, they're taking our community and our culture with them. So that's tough. That's a lot of things to try. Like, how do you all balance everything here?
Sure. Yeah. No, we want them to stay, right?
Yeah.
But although I guess we're also, giving some of those good people to the world, I guess. Too,
exactly.
Right? But we could be selfish and say, no, stay here.
I know what I'm kind of like. Without your posterity, what's the point?
Yeah. Like, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
So I guess like if they move, we follow.
Yeah,
so,
sure. Heather, this has been great. It's been great to get to know you. It's great to see what you're doing. Anything we didn't cover that you were like, hey, I wanted to talk about this or that?
Oh, wow, yeah. No, I don't know. I think it's good. I mean, we're in election season now.
Sure.
I could, that's something that's been really eye-opening to me.
Yeah.
Because, I've been on city council for a year and a half.
Yeah.
But I've never been in the position of being elected while other people are campaigning. So like my seat's not up, but I'm seeing some of the things, and it's, you run for council, and you think, like, I have this vision, this change, everything I can do. And so you're basically running against something that then once you win, you're now part of that system.
Sure.
And so you're now bearing the weight of decisions that were made that you never decided on.
Sure.
But they're now yours, and you're part of it, and you're part of the problem.
Sure.
So that's
Yeah.
So that's been really eye-opening to see that and realize that there's all this work that you would never campaign on.
Yeah.
And that keeping some of the things that are really good is just as hard as making change.
Sure.
And you start to learn things that, like, these bold ideas don't move anywhere without trust.
Yeah.
And just make it, if you don't have buy-in from other people, it's just noise.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's kind of wild to be there and feel that, and feel the feeling in the community kind of shift every 2 years.
Yeah.
Where people who weren't angry are now angry.
Sure.
So, yeah, it's kind of a different beast, because I don't think anybody really ever joins city council. I didn't, because I wanted to be political or be in the spotlight or anything. I just wanted to do good things. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's an interesting place to be. Yeah.
I do like that. I think, for the most part, Lehi there's no party affiliations and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So really it's just like, hey, is this a good person or not?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, is this somebody that cares about our community, or not, right? And, forget about the D or the R or the whatever, other, the I guess, but yeah.
Yeah, several years ago, decades ago, I know it was Ron Smith and another former mayor, and Ron's somebody's like one of my heroes.
Sure.
I loved him, and they got together. They had a two-party system, and they dissolved it.
Okay.
And I think that's been a really good thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard when you start to get sides, and
sure.
Even without parties, you have different strong point. Like I guess we just don't ever want to get to the point like, here's a ticket that's running, and But it's kind of the way things go.
And how many seats are up then?
So there's 2 city council and the mayor.
Okay.
And then because we have a new school district, there's the school board seats up too.
Okay.
So it's a pretty big.
So it's actually pretty election as far as because the school board is brand new, right? I mean, this would be a whole brand new school board, right?
So there are actually 5 seats that touch Lehi of the 7.
Okay.
So
wow,
3 that are just Lehi, and then there's 1 seat that's split pretty evenly with American Fork.
Okay.
But all 3 candidates are from Lehi.
Oh, okay.
And then there's another seat where we're with Highland, where it's just a portion, and all those candidates are from Highland.
Okay. Wow.
So.
And then you mentioned mayor and stuff like that. What do you foresee? Mayor Johnson's been great. He's been there for a long time.
Yeah.
Do you see significant changes happening? I guess with that, because I mean, I guess maybe speak to the fact that I mean, this is a council, right?
Yeah.
So one person doesn't have, he can't just do whatever he wants.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And so whoever replaces him can't just do whatever they want. But like, where do you see the future going? I guess with whoever.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. That's like there's nothing you can do without consensus with council, and like really I'm only effective when I'm there and I have 2 other voices that join me. Even though mayor doesn't have a vote, I think that is such an essential position. And yeah, things could completely change depending on who is in that position, because the way Mayor Johnson has been is he's been very heavily involved. Mm-hmm. He's in the meetings. People know who he is. Yeah. He has the ability to reach out to federal and get money. Yeah. And so, like, it depends on, I think the mayor position It's about relationships.
Yeah.
Are you able to work with the other city? Like I recently worked with him on that video for UDOT with the alignment of the transit. And so to have the other mayors of surrounding cities reach out and say, we want to help.
Okay.
You know, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
So if you don't have somebody in there who's able to form those relationships or have those relationships, Lehi starts getting left out of the room. You know, and they don't have a seat at the table. They don't have a voice at the table. It was really eye-opening to me, one of my first meetings when we did a joint meeting with the other city councils. When Mayor Johnson spoke, everybody turned and looked to him, and the questions went to him.
Sure.
And so he's been there long enough. He's an engineer. He's worked on things so much.
Yeah.
It is kind of scary to think that we might lose something there.
Sure.
But I mean, that's the process and how it works. And so we just have to count on whoever we put in that position. We have incredible staff that's going to be supportive of who's ever in that position. I am committed to working my heart out for who is ever in that position to make sure that, you know, we maintain those relationships, we work together and do things. But yeah, there's things that can change pretty drastically, and we've seen that in other cities.
Sure. Okay.
You know, the change in the guard, you can have things go completely a different direction depending on who your city council members are.
Okay. Again, some of this could change, I guess, depending on who's elected and who.
So I guess we'll wait and see.
I guess we'll wait and see. Yeah. And that's a very good point with relationships and stuff like that too. And sometimes people want, hey, let's brand new blood and stuff like that. And there's probably pros to that, you know. At the same time, I can see the benefit of somebody going up through the ranks, you know, kind of thing, and they're serving in other parts because now they have some of those relationships too. So
it is. It's because like with because Paul and Chris and Paige, who are the most tenured, are all running. Yeah. And say if there's a incident like Paige becomes mayor and Paul doesn't win re-election, Michelle and I are now the oldest tenured city council members. Oh, wow. With a year and a half.
Interesting.
So, and like, there's some critical things that are coming up. So you're kind of worried about like, okay, that's a lot to put on my shoulders.
Sure.
It's like, are you prepared to go and be the one that's leading the charge? So, yeah.
Yeah, because regardless, this is going to affect you, you know, and, you know, however this plays out, I guess. Yeah. So, interesting.
But it is eye-opening to me how important and essential those relationships are, not just with your own council, but those you know, outside your council. Yeah. And I think that's what was really beneficial. I mean, the best thing to come out of that for me as a city council member with the school district stuff is forming the relationships with, I mean, even in the South, like city council members that I'm really close with. I'm just like, I don't think there's a day that goes by other than probably Sunday that I'm not getting a call from somebody. Yeah. And that's really rewarding when you have a city council member saying, hey, on our agenda, we have this coming up. What has Lehi done? Yeah. What do you suggest? You know, so you're like, so it's the forming of the relationships and knowing that when big things come up, you have these things where people have your back. So
and when I talked to Paige actually about, she mentioned how one of the things you guys do is you do meet. There's like a tri-city or, you know, the northern Utah County, or I forget what it is, but a group of mayor, you know, city people, right, that meet together.
Yeah. So it was Eagle Mountain, Saratoga Springs, and us. Cedar Fort and Fairfield came too. And then we brought American Fork in because it's really our cities that are needing to figure out what we're going to do with this, with the roads and transportation. So, that was the same meeting that I was talking about too. Yeah.
Okay. Which I love. You know, again, to your point, collaboration. You know, we don't need necessarily any mavericks per se. You know, it's working together.
It's huge because like when you have those relationships and you can be straight with each other, and you know, I can call them up and say, okay, what's the real issue? You know, is it this? Is it this? And it's like, no, it's this. I'm like, oh. Now I get it. No, I like, you care about my citizens. You care that we're not tearing out homes. I care about what's going on with your city center. And we got to, so what's the solution? How can we work together to make sure that this road happens? Because we both want to move people through.
Correct.
Yeah. But if it becomes like we don't have that relationship and it's politics and everybody's kind of guarded, we don't figure out the solution together.
Yeah. No. Good. Okay. I love it. I love what you're doing. And, you know, I like interviewing, you know, the local leader. It always makes me, you know, because politics sometimes gets such a, you know, I don't know. We live in a very divisive world, and so that's why I always like the local stuff, because it's like, all right, hey, we're neighbors, let's be friends.
Exactly. That's why I admitted too, because I feel like, okay, it's about as far away from politics as you can get in the elected office. But
Yes. And I think it's important for people to know there's a difference between local stuff and federal stuff, and local stuff. These are, in my opinion, for the most part, good people trying to do their best, right? And you know, I'll leave it at that. Anyway, it's just good. You know,
Yeah,
I like
sure.
that that's happening. So,
Yeah.
Heather, great. No, anything else?
No, I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you coming on and appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate your service. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, doing what you're, you know, doing in the community and stuff like that. So obviously, it's making a difference, and we'll keep watching. So, thank you.
Sounds good. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Roots and Branches of Lehi. I hope today's story helped you feel a little more connected to the people who make up our community. Remember, every person here has a unique story, and together, we're what makes Lehi feel like home. If you know someone who would be a great fit for this podcast, please fill out the form in the show notes so we can reach out and schedule an interview. We'd love to hear from you. A big thank you to our sponsors, the Work Harding Home Mortgage Team and Play Harding Nightly Vacation Rentals, for supporting this show and helping us bring our community closer together. Until next time, keep growing those roots and reaching out to your branches. Take care.